hello Garden Grove families. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I just finished doing some Christmas carols, singing, recording, and I thought, you know what? It's actually put me really in the Christmas spirit today. So I'm going to continue that, and I'm going to head upstairs and do some baking. I'm going to make one of our family's favorite holiday treats. Some people call it Christmas crack, some people call it Christmas crackle or toffee crack. Whatever you want to call it, it is absolutely delicious. So I thought, why don't we do it together? So we're gonna head upstairs, I'm gonna put the apron on, and let's get working. For this recipe, you will need an apron, because really, why not? A baking sheet, you will need parchment paper, some spray, like some cooking spray to spray the parchment paper. You will need Ziploc bags. Actually, let's say two. One to do part of the activity in, and one to help store it after we're all done. You will need candy canes or some kind of treat to top it with. You need a bag of chocolate chips, and you'll need some crackers, and brown sugar and butter. And that's pretty much all you're gonna need. So I'll take a picture and I'll show you those items. And actually, I'd say like 90% of those items can be found at the dollar store, which is actually where I got them. So easy, quick, and delicious activity to do. Okay, so I have in front of me what I'm going to need. Everything from parchment paper, which I don't think you can see right now. So there's parchment paper, there's the brown sugar, our cup measures, candy canes, chocolate, crackers, and margarine. The only things that aren't in the picture right now that you will need are a baking sheet, like a cookie sheet, and some wonderful cooking spray. So otherwise, everything pretty much in front of me except for the base cell margarine can be found at Dollarama. Okay, so you can do many different variations on this recipe. The way I like to do it is by topping it with candy canes. So that's what we have here, is we have our candy canes. I have 6 candy canes here, and we're just going to take them apart and put them in a Ziploc bag, and then we're going to crush them. Okay, so as you can see here, I took the rest of them out of their special little wrapping, and that's something that some of our younger friends can help out with too, which is great. And now I have them just in a Ziploc bag that's sealed, and I put them kind of on a cutting board that we use. It's actually an old piece of countertop from my grandma's house that we use now for a cutting board. So now comes the fun part. Heavy object. So I'm going to use a rolling pin, but you can use any kind of either wooden spoon, anything like that that might work for you, anything you have in your house that would work really well for smashing things. So the children are definitely going to love this part, and it's just kind of fun, let's be honest. Okay, so they're all smashed up now. It's also a great way to use some broken candy canes that you may have around the house that the kids don't necessarily want to eat because they're broken. So this way I have a couple little pieces in there, but mostly it's kind of like candy cane dust. So we're going to use that at the end to top off our special dessert. Okay, also super important, make sure to preheat your oven. So the recipe I'm using says to use 400 degrees. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so next up I have a pan here that's obviously been well used and well loved. And what we're going to do is just cover it with some parchment paper. And then we're going to take that parchment paper and we're just going to spray it. So you put it in, you kind of want it to be a little bit up at the sides. So we're going to pour the toffee type caramel over top of that. So this way it's going to make it a lot easier for cleanup later. Okay, so now that I have greased my parchment, next comes the crackers. And you can use a variety of different kinds of crackers, it doesn't matter. These ones that I have here I'm using just because they're the ones I happened to find at the dollar store the other night. So we're going to put these crackers on and get our base ready. Okay, so now that we have this covered, we're going to move on to the next step, which means moving to the stove to make our toffee that's going to be poured over top of all of this. Okay, so to start our toffee, we need 1 cup of margarine or butter, and we're going to need 1 cup of brown sugar as well. So we're going to mix this together on the stove and bring them to a boil, and it's going to form our wonderful, yummy toffee. Okay, so now we're moving this over to the stove, Looks like my oven has come up to temperature, which is awesome. So we're gonna turn this on and just see if we can get it boiling. Once you have it boiling, you're going to let it boil for a full 3 minutes before taking it off, just to make sure that it's the right temperature it needs to be. Okay, as I said, I am not a professional chef by any means, so forgive me if I'm doing this differently than you might, and that's okay. But it's smoking nicely, so I'm just waiting now for it to come to a boil. So once it gets to the boil, we'll do it for 3 minutes, let it go strong, and then we'll pour it over our crackers. Okay, as you can see, we're starting to get some bubbles popping in, so it's starting to boil. So we're gonna set our timer for 3 minutes and stir it as we go, and just make sure it gets boiled up nicely. And unfortunately, this is the part where the grown-ups kind of have to be at the stove and doing all this hot stuff here. But we'll get back to a part where our children can get involved again and we can work together. Okay, so that timer tells me we are good to go. We're going to take this off the stove and then pour it over top of our crackers. Okay, you definitely don't want to keep the caramel on there too long, because if it gets overcooked, it gets too hard and then it's not going to taste as good. So let's pour it on over. And we're just going to spread it out, make sure everything is covered. Okay, this looks pretty good. We're going to put it in the oven now at 400 for 5 minutes. Okay, as you can see, they look pretty delicious already. So now comes the next step, which is adding our chocolate. So this is the chocolate I was found at the dollar store. And all we're going to do is pour it over top, and then we're going to set it just in the oven to just help it melt for a couple minutes, and then we're going to take it out and smear it all over. Okay, so I didn't put it in the oven very long, and I just kind of left the oven door propped open. So now we're just going to spread the chocolate out, and it will be absolutely perfect to add our candy cane to after. So this doesn't take long, just a little spread. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing about this has to be perfection in any way. That's one thing I do love about it, because every time you make it, it can be different. And I'm choosing to put candy canes on top of mine, but you might choose something else for yours. Some people like to drizzle white chocolate, or put sprinkles, or special candied sugar pieces, or even sometimes people like to put some sea salt on top, and that would also be delicious. So now that that is spread, now comes the fun of our candy canes when we boil. So thankfully we've washed our hands a bunch of times. So all we're gonna do is top it with some delicious candy canes to make it just that little bit more Christmassy. And the nice thing is, even the little tiny pieces of sugar, they actually taste really great on this as well. So you're not actually going to be wasting any of this. All the crumbs all come into play. Okay, so you just make sure you got it all covered, and your hand will probably be covered as well, just like mine. And then it goes in the fridge. Okay, so I don't know about you, but our freezer is very full. So the options are putting it in the freezer for 20 minutes or putting it in the fridge for up to 2 hours. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait a little while for me to crack this, because I wasn't able to clear room in the freezer right now, but I was able to clear a shelf in the fridge. So we're gonna set it in there. Okay, now comes the fun part. I have left this in the fridge for over 2 hours now, I've made supper, we got muffins, bacon in the oven, and now it's time to break it apart. So, I'm wearing gloves because my hands get super hot whenever I touch, well, let's just say in general. So whenever I am playing with chocolate or touching chocolate, I have to be careful because it melts super fast in my hands. So all you're gonna do is break it up into pieces, and the pieces can be whatever size you want them to be. I like to do a variety because some people want larger pieces and some prefer smaller. And then, oh, see, that just broke into pieces, and that's okay, because then you just get little bites sometimes. And then you put it in a container and store it in the fridge is the best option. Otherwise it can get pretty melty. And it can store there for, I believe it says for up to like 3 months, but good luck letting it last beyond like a week or so. So, as you can see, this is pretty simple. Definitely something the kids can help with and breaking it off into pieces. And I know they're going to want to help with eating it. That's the best part. And there we go. It's all cracked up. Great holiday treat for you to enjoy with your family and even to give to some friends. And I think that's exactly what's going to be happening with this. My mom has already claimed half of it to go to work. So we'll see how long it lasts. Well, the best part about baking is enjoying your hard work after. So I have my Christmas crackle and I'm ready to go with my hot chocolate and enjoy the rest of my evening and probably watch a Hallmark movie just to keep up the Christmas spirit. Hope you all have a wonderful holiday season with your families. Merry Christmas. Delicious.